Hi everybody, it's me, Ms. McNichol. Welcome to episode number 2 of Just Right. Here I am outside of Abby's room waiting to go in and get started with our writing project for today. You might be wondering, why does she have a light bulb on top of her head? And the reason is, today's episode is all about gathering ideas. So let's step inside and see what we'll be doing today. So let's get started with episode 2 of Just Right. It's all about gathering ideas. And I hope you all still have your box or your bag that you put together with all your supplies in it. And did you find yourself a good spot that you're going to write in? Because you might get started in that spot today when we're done here. So let's think about ideas for a minute. Ideas just pop into our heads sometimes, and we don't even know where they come from. And other times we see something or we do something and it reminds us of an idea that we have. Sometimes I'll look out my window and I'll see the woods that are right there beside my house, and I'll think back to a story of something that happened to me when I was in the woods. Like one time I went for a walk with my family and got stuck in a rainstorm while I was walking in the woods. That would be a great thing for me to write about. So you get ideas in your head, and you can do a lot of things with ideas. Some people invent things, like Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. So you can invent things. You can paint things with ideas. You can write things with ideas. You can build things with ideas that you have in your head. You can plant things with ideas in your head. So when we have ideas, it can open a whole new world to us. We just have to think, where will they come from? What we're going to do today is look at a few authors and how they get their ideas for writing. And then I'll show you some ways to get your ideas down on paper to start a little idea chart or an idea bank or an idea little book. So let's get started. Author Tommy Paula says he gets his ideas from everywhere. Sometimes they come from his own life, like The Art Lesson is a story about when he was a kid. The Popcorn Book, his favorite snack is popcorn. Sometimes from folk tales, sometimes he makes things up out of the blue, like Stregonona. Mo Willems is an author that we all love. He likes to come up with silly ideas for his books. He also likes to think about questions in life, like, what is a friendship? And come up with ideas for that. He usually draws characters that even a 5-year-old can draw, and then copy his characters and make up their own story about them. Another famous author, Roald Dahl, who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The BFG, and James and the Giant Peach, says it always starts with a tiny little seed of an idea. For example, one day he got out of his car and with his finger he wrote the word chocolate into the dirt on his car. This helped him remember the idea, and later it became Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Once you have an idea, you work it out and you play around with it. Finally, author Jan Brett gets her ideas from her childhood. In the hat, Hedgie starts getting teased about his hat, and he just pretends that everything is okay. That's the advice that her mother gave her, not to get mad and pretend that everything is okay. Sometimes she gets her ideas from traveling. She travels a lot, and she gets many of her book and illustration ideas from the things she sees on her trips. So if you think about things that you have done, things that you like, places that you've been to, stories you've heard, and you add a little imagination, you'll have a lot of ideas too. So we just saw many different ways that authors get ideas for their books that they write. And since we're writers, we're authors, and so we are going to come up with a lot of ideas too that we'll have to write down and we want to share with other people through our stories and our illustrations. We need a place to keep those ideas. So the first thing we're going to do is find what works for us. Where will I keep my ideas? I'm going to show you a couple of different ways you could keep your ideas and places where you could keep them. And you choose which is the best for you or which you would like to try. So here we go. The first, I'm going to look inside my Just Right box, and I have some things in there that could help me with this. Perhaps, mine's on a tilt, I'm going to flatten it out here. Oh, perhaps you found yourself some type of little notebook that you might have put into your box. If you do, a little notebook's always a great place to write some ideas down. So that could be one place where you keep your ideas for your writing. You might already have a writing notebook like I have. And in the front of that, I have placed some of my ideas that I wrote a long time ago. But I'll be adding some more. So I have some here, just a list of things that I could write about. So maybe you're going to keep a notebook that way. Another thing you could do is you could have make something called an idea board. Just on a plain piece of paper, put that down, and perhaps you have some kind of Post-its. Take a few Post-its and stick them down to your paper. They might be the same color, the same size. They might be different colors, different sizes. I'm just going to stick them on like here, because then I could put this right up or keep it in my box, and all of my ideas will be written on these Post-its. So there's another idea. Another thing you might decide to do with your ideas is to put them in a little book like this. And I'm going to show you how to make a little book like this from a plain piece of paper. So here it is. Are you ready? Here we go. I'm looking in my box, and I'm going to pull out an old piece of mail that I had. It had a little something written on it, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to put that mail, I'm going to fold it in half, fold my paper in half one time, the horizontal way, so it's this way. And then I'm going to do it again, like this, and fold it again a second time. And then I'm going to fold it one more time. So it's a little book like this. But wait, when I open this, it only has 2 pages. It didn't have many pages like mine did. So here's the trick. Open your paper back up all the way. And you want the fold to be up at the top. You want the open part down below. Then you're going to take a pair of scissors and you're going to cut down from the fold only halfway, like that, so they flap. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to open my paper all the way up and fold it long like a hot dog. Okay, and if I pinch it together, look at that, it has like a little mouth. Hello, how are you today? So we're going to pinch that mouth together, make a diamond, keep it going, and then I flatten it out and I fold it in half. And when I open it up again, I will have a little book just like I showed you. Now, on the cover, I will write, as I did here, my ideas. So I could be putting ideas into my little notebook. I could be putting ideas into my big notebook. I could make myself a little idea board. I could put my ideas into a little booklet like this and make a book. So you're going to choose which would I like to do. And then we'll come right back and we will put some ideas in. So here I am with my little idea book. Now I have to fill it up with ideas. So let me give you some suggestions on what ideas you might put in here. I'm going to open to the first page, and the first thing that I think about when I think what will I write about is I think about memories, things that have happened to me before. And so in my idea book, I could, on this first page, write the word memories. Mem or ease. Or maybe I'm just going to put an M, and that will help me remember that this is my memories book, especially if I'm just learning my letters and my sounds. An M will do. I can remember that's for memories. And now I need to think, what's a memory that I have? And I told you one earlier, getting caught in the woods in a rainstorm. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write a couple of words that will make me think of that. And I'm going to write woods in the rain. Another memory that I have is one time when I was little, I'm probably 4, my older brother kind of made me eat a worm. He disguised it in a bubblegum wrapper and told me it was a kind of bubblegum. And I ate that worm. And it's a story I'll always remember. So I might want to write about that silly story. That's a memory I have. What will I do? I'm just going to write it here. I made another little dot. And I'm going to write just the word. Well, first I'm going to draw a picture. I'm going to draw a picture of that worm. And I'm going to write a W for worm. Maybe I can fit the word in there. I'll squeeze it in. Worm. So if you are able to write lots of words, you might have 4 or 5 dots here with different memories that you have. Maybe you just have 1 or 2. That's okay. Let's go to another page. On another page, you might write down some things that you like to do. So I'm just going to write the word do at the top. What do I like to do? I like, in the wintertime, I like to ski. I could write a story about skiing, or I could teach you about skiing. What else do I like to do? I do like to read. And maybe I'm going to tell you in some writing about a book that I read and if I liked it or didn't like it. Another thing I like to do is I like to go for long walks. So I'm just going to write walks down here. I'll put one more thing. I do like to make apple pies. So I'm going to draw a picture of that pie. Here it is. And I have some slits in the top. So I have memories here. I could write about those. I could write about some things that I like to do. The next page, I'm going to write about people. People that I know, people that I care about, people that I've done some things with. And here I'm going to draw myself a person. And maybe I'll draw another person next to them. This one. Like this. Maybe I'll draw another person over here. Okay, just so I know that this page is about people. Give some curly hair on that one. All right, let's write about people. People I know and might want to write about. Let's see, who might that be? Well, maybe it's my mom. I'm just going to write mom. Maybe it's my dad. I've done some things with my dad, or I could tell you about my dad. They're pretty old right now, but they still have, there's a lot of stories I could tell you about them. Perhaps I want to write and tell a story or write some things about my daughters. I have 2 daughters. So I could write Paige and Abby. I could write stories about my husband, Jim. I could write stories about students that I know, and I could put their names down. I could write stories about my grandma or my grandpa. Even though they're not alive anymore, I still have some stories that I could tell about them. So I could put them down. You might end up filling 2 pages with people that you know or that you'd like to write about, you've done things with. So there's your people page. Let's do another page. Maybe you want to write about things that you don't like, because sometimes they make for good topics and good ideas. So I'm just going to put this kind of a sign at the top, the circle with a big X in it. Things I don't like. What don't I like? You know what I really don't like? When I go for walks, I don't like to see trash and litter out in the woods and on the side of the road. So I'm going to write litter. That kind of bothers me. What else don't I like? You know, I really don't like beets. There's probably food that you don't like too. In fact, I know a book that somebody wrote about not liking peas. I think I read it to some of you before, or your teacher might have read it to you. So I don't like beets. I'm going to put those down. Something else I don't like? I don't like getting really, really cold. So I don't like it real cold. I like to ski, but not when it's really, really cold. So I put 3 things down that I don't like. Maybe you have some things that you don't like too. A couple other things. Are there any places that you know a lot about that you've been to before? Let's do places, and I'll write that word up here. Or again, if I'm using my idea board, I could just write the word places right on one of these pieces of paper. So, places that I know about and I've been to. My house. Another place that I've been to, maybe it's just a place in my house like the kitchen. I have gone on a few trips before, and one place that I might like to write about would be Australia. I've been there and petted a koala bear. So that'd be a cool place. Australia, I could write about. Okay, yeah, I bet you have places that you've been to too. Write some down. Let's see. The last thing I'm going to have us do is let's see if we can think of anything that you would like to learn more about. For example, so this is a page that maybe you have to do some reading about, or maybe you have to do some research about. But for example, I would like to know a little bit more, let's see, about, I'm trying to think of something I want to know more about. I would like to know more about how to fix a flat tire. So I'm going to write down here, flat tire. I would also like to know more about Brazil, because it's a place I would like to go visit sometime, but I don't really know a lot about it. Another thing I would like to know more about is space. What really is out there in space? So I'm going to put that down too. So a few things that maybe I have to do some reading on, or I have to look into. So this is my idea book. I still have another page here on the back that I could put some other ideas down of things I could write about. They could go on and on. So there's my book. Memories, things I like to do, people that are important to me, things that I don't like, places that I've been to, things that I want to know more about. So those are all some ideas that I have in my idea book. I hope you can fill your idea book too. Maybe right now you need to go find a place to sit, your quiet special place, make your little book, or use one of your notebooks and get started. Just write down some ideas. We never know what's going to happen with those ideas. We'll watch them grow over the next few episodes. See you next time. Just write me a letter. Just write me a rhyme. Just write me an email. Any old time. Just write me a story, maybe short, maybe long, or if you prefer, just write me a song. Just write me a text or a card with a line. Just write me your feelings. I hope you are fine. Just write what you can. Write big or write small. Whatever you write will be good for us all. So just write, everybody, just write.